Hey guys. Alright, so guitar players like to move riffs or patterns or chords across strings. There's several reasons why we do this. One of them is because of the tone. The tone on the higher strings is usually very bright. Tone on the lower strings is darker. Another reason is because we want to move a riff up an octave or down an octave. And I would say probably the most common reason why we do it is because the fingering might be easier at a different place or a different position on the guitar. So for example, so I'm playing a E flat major, and let's say I want to try to figure out a different fingering for this, so I'll move it down, I'll move the E flat down to the A string, and then we'll do this. Okay, let's move it down to this E flat. That got worse. What's happening here? What year is this? Why do I have to wear pants everywhere? I'm going to answer one of these questions today. And it's not about pants, but it is a question that probably many guitar players have been asking. I mean, the short answer is because of the B string. The reason why you can't just move the same pattern across the strings and get the same chord sound, as I just demonstrated, is because of the guitar's tuning. So let's take a look at the way a guitar is typically tuned. So the interval or distance between the notes on the low E to the A string is a fourth. When you go from the A string to the D string, it's another fourth. When you go from the D string to the G string, that's a fourth. When you go to the B string to the high E, that's a fourth. However, when you go from the G string to the B string, that's a major third. And the major third changes everything in what I like to call the B string phenomenon. It gets pretty complicated pretty quick. I found this out when I started trying to make a flowchart out of it, right? So I've got all these notes here, there's front and back. Got a bunch of weird symbols on here. It got really complicated really quickly. But I did it. I figured out a visual way to figure out what the pattern is going to look like when you move it, depending on where you're moving it, how many strings, etc. And actually the word is etc. I'm going to show you a few examples. And I want you to keep in mind that I'm a very visual learner. There's other ways to do it, of course. You can do it by ear. The downside to that is that unless you have perfect pitch, which I do not, you're not gonna be able to do it on first try. You might have to noodle with it a little bit. You can learn the note names too, but you don't know which strings to move in that case. You don't know which way they're gonna go. So I find this is the best way for me, and I'm gonna show you a few examples and go through how the chart works. So the first example is a E minor 11. Very simple chord, and the reason I made it the first chord is because visually it's really easy for me to understand. It's just stacked fourths right up in a line there. And let's say we want to move it up to the A string, so we find the root, the low note. It's always the first step, if you want to keep it in the same key. You don't have to. This is just if you want to keep it in the same key. So then we look at the first question on the chart. So will either pattern cross over or include the B string as well as any string that is lower? The first pattern, the first chord shape does not. The second one will include the B string and a string that is lower. So we move to the yes. We follow the yes string. Which way will the pattern be moving across the strings? Low strings up to higher strings, or the other way around? We're going lower up to higher. So we're going to follow up to that next question. Across how many strings is the pattern being moved? The pattern is being moved across one string. We've got one additional question, and you're not going to run across this very often, and that's, is the pattern played solely on the G and B strings? It's not in this case. So the note on any note that's on the B string is going to be played one fret higher. So we take this pattern, we move it up, move the B string note up one fret. And there you go. So that's how that works. It seems like a lot to answer, but once you get used to it, once you do it a few times, you just go through questions really quick. So let's do it again. Let's say we want to move this up one fret, or not one fret, but one string played on the D string. So we find the root. Is the note played on the B or lower string? Yes, absolutely. It's moving up from the lower strings again, moving it up one string. It's not played solely on the B or G, so do the notes on the B move up one fret. So we take this pattern, move it up here, and then we move the B string up one fret. So three very different chord shapes, but they're all the same intervals, all the same notes, and that's what we're looking for. So let's do another one. We'll take what is this, A major 7, no third. I really like the way this chord sounds, so thought I would throw this in there. So let's follow the flow chart here. Will either pattern cross over or include the B string as well as the string that's lower? In this case, it doesn't. Neither one of them are going to hit the B string. So we just go to the no. The pattern will remain the same. Easy enough. All right, so let's go up one more fret. Will either pattern take place in the B as well as the lower string? They will this time, because we're going from here to here. And there's the B string in there. Which way is the pattern moving? We're moving from the low strings to the high strings once again. We're moving up one string. It doesn't take place on just the B or the G, so all the notes on the B move up one fret. So there you go. And then let's move it up one more time. So we got the A, find the A. And the reason why I'm doing the low note is because you have to find a relative pitch to start on. You don't know if you're moving up or down a fret, it has to be relative to something. The easiest way I found is to make it relative to the lowest string. We all like roots. Guitar players play chords with a lot of roots in it, so that's the way the system works, and I find it's the easiest way to do it. All right, so take the root. I mean, the low note's not always the root, I should say, as well. Sometimes it's a different note, but the low string is still the anchor, I guess, if you will, of what happens to the pattern as far as moving it up or down a fret. All right, so we've got the A, so we'll start on the A. We've got this pattern here. Does it take place in the B or lower string? Yes. Which way is the pattern moving? It's moving lower to higher. Is the pattern played solely on the B or the G strings? No. So once again, take this pattern, we move whatever's on the B string up a fret. Three very different looking patterns, the same notes. So let's do a third example. Let's do this one with single note runs. So we're going to start lower on the neck, and we're going to start on the second fret for this one. And the riff is. All right, so let's take the low notes. All right, so that's where we're going to start. Let's go through the steps again. Will the pattern be? Will it cross over or include the B string as well as any strings that is lower? Yes. Which way is the pattern moving? It is actually moving the other way now, so we're moving from the higher strings down to the lower strings. Across how many strings is the pattern being moved? It's across one. Again, is the original pattern played on just the B and the E strings this time? No, absolutely not. The note on the G string will move down one fret. So we've got that first pattern. So we take this and we move whatever's on this string down one fret. Let's do that one more time. So let's do it with this pattern now. So is it on the B string or lower? Yes, the first one is. Which way is it moving? It's moving down from higher strings to lower strings once again. We're again moving it one string. It doesn't take place on the B or E. So find that E and then move whatever is on the G string from the last pattern down one fret. All right, so there's that example. Let's do one more. Well, actually, I'm gonna do two more, but the last two are related. So let's take that original chord that I had, the E flat major. All right, so let's take this one and let's run it through the process. So yes, it does take place on the B as well as the lower string. It's moving down the strings, and then it's moving across one string. Is the original played on the E or the B strings? No. So we take this pattern and we move the G down one fret. Still not my favorite fingering, so let's try to move it one more time. Take that E, and this is the pattern we're looking at now. So let's move that one through the flow chart. Will either pattern be played on the B as well as a lower string? Yes. Which way is the pattern moving across the strings? The pattern is moving from higher to lower again. Across how many strings? One string. It doesn't take place on solely the B and the E. So again, we move it down one G string, one fret on the G string. So we take this pattern, find the G string, that's this note right there, and we turn it into this note. So there you go. And this, I thought this was kind of cool because it helped me to understand why the E shape, the A shape, and the D shape all sound very similar but look very different. It's because of that interval between the B and the G string throwing it off. Okay, so you'll notice that two of the octagons on the flowchart are a lot bigger than the other ones. That's because these are the two you're going to run into the most. But I wanted to show you a situation where it's you want to take another branch from the flowchart. So the last example I have is with the E flat major again. We'll start going down through the flowchart. Will either pattern be on the lower B string as well as the well, let me show you where we're going to move it first. So we're going to start it here, but we're going to go straight down to here. So we're actually going to go down 2 strings this time. So it does take place in the B and a lower string. We're moving down, so we're going to be on the right side of the chart. One string is not the case this time. We're moving down 2 strings. So this time notes on the D and the G move down 1 fret, both of them. So we take that original pattern, place it where we want it, and then we move both of those notes down. And of course, again, we have the E pattern. So there you go. I thought it was really fascinating, and I thought it gave me some more clarity on what happens when you move a pattern across strings on the guitar. Again, I put the link down below for the flowchart as well as the notation and the tablature for today's examples. And that's it. Thanks for watching. Hope you learned something today. See you next time.